So over 3 years ago, I went to my first eSkateCon event and met OMW and the Mad eSkate team. And now they've come together to make their first collaborative board. And this thing is sick. And there's some sick features on this board that I'll tell you about a little bit later. So fun fact about this windmill here, back in the UK at the moment, is that it's actually made in 1796. So it's really old. Yeah, 200 plus years old in my hometown. Pretty sick. Yeah, so I'm back in the UK at the moment, but soon I'm going back to States. Actually next week, I'll tell you halfway through this video, going to a special event real soon. Some of you guys might already know, but I'll tell you about it soon. So I've actually had this board for about 2 weeks of solid testing. And I don't know what clicked about me on this one. I really wanted to test it in a variety of different situations, which we're going to cover in this video today. So as I said, this board is the OMW Lancer. And what's special about this board is that it was built in mind for Mad eSkate and the OMW team to work together to make something truly special. But there's so many things I want to cover in this video. First of all, let's talk about the wheels. Now the wheels on this board are 72A Mad 105 wheels. I haven't tried Mad wheels for about 2 years since they first came about a couple of years ago. And I actually got one of the first sets they ever reviewed on the channel. And what's different about the new V2 wheels is I feel like they've fixed some of the kinks that I had issues with and the first time I reviewed these wheels. Now at medium to high speed, these wheels are absolutely excellent. But one thing that was doing my head in is at low speed, they had like this mild vibration going on. They seem to have fixed that in the V2 wheels. And what's sick about Mad is that they are using the community to develop their products even further with riders like this. Now these riders are tasting the capability of these wheels and other products that are coming out from OMW. They're actually developing a race version of this board. Now I don't know if that's just a prototype or just for competition, but it will be exciting to see what OMW and Mad are doing with their expert riders. Now these riders can test the limits of what this board can do. So they can help with the product development and make these wheels the best that they can be. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the deck. Now, before I go into statistics, I want to say that this deck is so springy, soft, and comfortable. And for me, probably the highlight of this board entirely, it's actually got some thick grip tape on it to give that cushiony ride. And the flex on it is absolutely outstanding. And in fact, you can actually adjust that flex depending on the wheel position. So that's one thing I've not seen any other companies do. With a simple change of the truck placement, you can actually change the hardness of your deck, which is really clever. So if you want a harder or stiffer deck, or if you want to adjust that depending on what kind of ride you're doing, so if you want it more of a stiffer setup for racing or more flexible for off-road riding, mild off-road, it is a street board at the end of the day, then you can simply change the wheel placement and it gives you adjustability to change the flex of the deck, which I think is very clever. Now the deck itself is actually made out of a carbon composite with carbon fibre, fiberglass and epoxy resin, and this is definitely the highlight of the board for me. The amount of flex and give that this board has, combination with these street wheels and the foam grip tape, this is probably the softest, most comfortable longboard I've ridden in a very long time. And with that flexible enclosure, all these features coming together really makes a significant difference. Now the size of this deck is actually 30.3 inches by 10.2 inches wide. So there's enough space in the footprint to really kind of use the whole deck qualities. And like I said earlier, if you simply change the adjustment of the trucks on this thing, you can change the flex and how this feels on your foot. And I've not seen any other board do that and really significantly change how that board fits under your feet and how it feels. That makes all the difference. But first, I'm going to grab a little snack because I am peckish. Snacky time. Now the battery that's paired with this board isn't exactly enormous. It's actually a very nice standard size. It's actually a 14S 2P battery using the 21700 Samsung 50S cells. And I'm glad like the new standard of batteries nowadays are coming away from the 18650s and just go straight to 21700s. It's 2025, we should have these cells in actually every single board going forward. And I'm definitely going to highlight any boards that are showing the 18650 cell because we're way past that at this point. Now the watt hour on this board is actually 504 watt hours, which is a nice balance between power and weight. With a long board in that street wheel setup, you don't need infinite battery for this board, because as you add more batteries, yes, you do increase the range, but it does make it more of a pain in the ass to live with. Pop to the shops, grabbing yourself a brew, grabbing yourself some breakfast. It's super simple with a battery watt hour that's 504 watts. It's a really good battery size, I find, in my opinion, with this street wheel longboard setup. Now the advertised range of this board is around 28 miles range, and now from my testing I normally get around the 25-23 mile range from my testing, but I'm over 100 kgs as a rider, and I do like to push the board to its absolute limit with some extreme riding. Yeah, now this loose brick setup, this street wheels really handle it really nicely, no problems at all. And these little bumps in the road, let me just press the button, what's it? These little bumps in the road, you don't feel them at all. In fact, I'll launch this off a curb in a second. Oh, there we go. Do it. It's all well and good having a cushiony soft deck, but if it's not predictable, it makes no difference. Now this is the bit you don't see in all my videos, cleaning the board between every shoot. Now the motors that are paired actually with this board aren't exactly gigantic motors, but it does reduce the weight ever so slightly. The motors that are paired with this board are 40 to 35 motors with a max output of 2,914 watts. Now these aren't going to get some crazy really high speeds, but for the price point of this board, which I'll talk about in a minute, I think they're absolutely solid. I wouldn't necessarily go super fast, but I would love to see a pro version of this board. Just increase the power output just a little bit slightly, say like 20%, 30% more power, because I do feel they're slightly underpowered for what we're looking for, but with this cushiony setup, keeping that weight low and that price affordable, I can understand why they went this way. Now the advertised top speed of this board is around 31 miles an hour or 50 kilometers an hour. Now from my test, I'm normally getting around the 25-26 miles an hour top speed, but obviously with gravity and bigger hills, I'm getting those higher speeds. But the stability of this board, the cushiony grip top and that absolutely glorious deck, I think that's exactly where we want to be for this kind of setup. Now, as I said, when we're talking about portability, this board actually only weighs around 12 kilos in weight, and for me this year is all about having a lightweight accessible boards. I'm really fed up of having these really heavy overweight boards. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely a place for that, and there are really thick boards which are in the higher weight limit, but one thing I assure you, just to make note of, is actually having a light board makes it much easier to do little errands, grab a coffee and have like a campus cruiser or a city commuter. With this street up, 12 kilos is a really ideal weight. If we increase the motor size and increase the battery, we would lose that kind of portability function. But 12 kilos, really respectable weight. I've got to say though, what a lovely day it is today. Look at that sky, gorgeous. But this is what I say, this board you could take to a wide scope of different areas. Grassy verge or your local skate park for a little bit of a shred session. Another thing which is an absolute amazing standard nowadays is the trucks that this board is paired with. Now these are CNC'd TKP trucks, and these are really stable for this setup. I love the little red accent, but you can actually get this board in different variants as well. This is the black version of this board, but they actually do a red deck coloured board as well, so a little bit of customization, which is really nice. Now the width is 9.25 inches wide, which gives a really good stability, but not a really wide footprint, so you can kind of tuck this under your desk and you can get out of the way without causing any issues. But it's very rare for me to get a board out of the box and not do any modifications at all. I didn't change the trucks, the bushings, tightening, loosening, nothing at all. And these trucks are stable at high speeds and comfy enough at the low speeds. But let's talk about one of the really unique, cool features about this board. Now here is one of the exceptional add-ons you can get for this board. For $115 you can get integrated LED front headlights for your Lancer, and for a small fee you can get RGB, which is synchronized to your remote for your board. Now this is an excellent way to ride with confidence in all conditions. With the full integrated RGB lights and very powerful headlights and brake lights, you know you can go out this board all day, and at evening it becomes its second wave. It becomes a brand new board for itself. I really like how seamless this is incorporated with the board, and it looks flush and it looks clean, and I really like the style of this board. Now the headlights that are provided with this board are twin 1800 lumens each, which gives you a combined output of 3600 lumens. Now that is plenty of brightness for all conditions when skating. You wouldn't want anything more, and you wouldn't necessarily want anything less, but the combination of these two being powered by the board makes an exceptional night ride. And you tell me, doesn't it look gorgeous? Now the ESC that is paired with this board is a OMW 9028 ESC, which is just a standard ESC nowadays. Nothing blowing your way with like high stats, but what it is, it's solid and reliable. And paired with this fine remote, it seems to be a standard remote coming out. But one thing is about this board is that it's meant to be accessible for the masses for its price point. Now the price of this board for the 14S 2P CNC trucks official MAD 105 wheels, which are one of the best street wheels out there in the market now, for all this is it's $799 American dollars for all this quality of board. So there's obviously bits on this board that are made it more accessible for the masses in relation to the motors or the power coming out of that ESC, but those little small gives and takes and makes a board for $799 super competitive. And there's not many boards in that demographic that can offer all this for that price point. To be fair, most of the OMW boards that are coming out nowadays are absolutely excellent, and the 3 range, if you want to know more about those other boards, I actually featured one of the others on my channel, so I'll put a link in the description for one of the other boards featuring from OMW. Now all these stats and everything are absolutely fantastic, but how do I feel like the build quality and finish of this board is? I feel like the finish on this board is absolutely excellent. For the price of $799, I think you get so much for this board, and the highest, most interesting aspect of this entire board is the deck. The rebound, the flex, stability, and the adjustability to adjust that flex depending on your personal preference really makes a significant difference. And I feel like the finish is really nice. I'd like to see how OMW and MAD are going to be collaborating in the future and see what more things they can come up with the racers they have from the MAD e-skate team and the infrastructure and accessibility for OMW. I feel like we're going to have some really exciting stuff coming really soon. And as I said earlier in this video, OMW developing their own 3-link truck system, working with Stooge properly, means that OMW, MAD and Stooge, the trio if you will.
Key to being a big league pitcher is the 3 R's. Readiness, recuperation, conditioning.
God knows what they're going to be coming up with. Now as part of this review, I don't know what clicked for me, but I just really wanted to see what this board can do in a wide range of different environments, including grass, a skate park, urban, and a little bit of road setting as well, because I really think it's important to show the versatility of this board. And I haven't been kind in this review of this board. I've bashed it around, thrown it around, and really tested to see what it could do. Overall, the Lancer, I'm really surprised how good this board for the price point is. And one thing I would love for this board to have would be a base model and a pro model. I think $799, what you get for this board is excellent value, but I'd love to push like an extra couple $100 tops to see a pro version with a little bit more punch out of the thing, because the deck, the trucks and the wheels are fantastic, but I would love just a little bit more out of the board, just a little bit more punch, because I feel like it has the infrastructure to do so. A lot of boards are putting big motors, big batteries on the same board they've done multiple times, but this board has the scope to come so much more. Now for my 2-week in-depth review of this board, trying it in multiple different situations, I feel like OMW and MAD e-skate team are onto a winner here, and I can't wait to see what's coming out next from this team. For $7.99, and with my discount code getting a couple bucks off, I think this board is really in for a win in the e-skate scene. And I feel like I'm so grateful now in the community. We've got companies like this making products that are so good and accessible for a first-time rider or someone who wants to have a second dedicated street board. The only feedback I would have is I wish there was a pro version to add a little bit more cash to the budget, maybe an extra 100 or something, just to improve the power from the ESC and improve that motor size to get a bit more punch out the gate. But the deck qualities on this board that OMW have developed in-house is absolutely excellent. And with incorporated accessories, lights and features, what I like to say on this channel, it's a done board. You don't need anything else to make this board any better, except for a little bit of customization, which I might look into. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. But before you leave me now, if you stayed around to the end, next week we're going to PEV Paris to get all the coverage on the biggest European event of the year. So stay tuned, because that one is going to be sick. See you soon.